These are the notes for the Ready in 6.1, and they're an introduction to the Pythagorean Theorem. The Pythagorean Theorem allows us to find the lengths of all three sides of a right triangle given two side lengths. So just a quick sort of notation here. Leg 1 refers to a side of the triangle. Leg 2 refers to a second side. The only leg, the only side that gets a very special name is the side that is opposite the right angle. And that's called the hypotenuse. Now the Pythagorean theorem says leg 1 squared plus leg 2 squared equals hypotenuse squared. We're going to look at two examples. In our first example, we're given the triangle where we have a side that's 5, a side that's A, and a side that's 13. And the most important thing to note right now is which of these sides is the hypotenuse, the one opposite the right angle. So one nice thing to kind of do here to remind us maybe to draw an arrow from the right angle to the side opposite. So when I do the Pythagorean theorem, I always start by writing the theorem. So leg 1 squared plus leg 2 squared equals hypotenuse squared. Once I've written the theorem, I then fill in the pieces of information that I have. So in this case, I have a leg and a hypotenuse. So I'm going to fill in 5 squared plus, I have a label here. I may not have a number, but I do have a label, so I'll write that in, a squared equals hypotenuse, which is 13 squared. Now 5 squared is 25 plus a squared is a squared equals 13 squared, which is 169. And I now need to solve this for a squared. So I'm going to subtract 25 on both sides, which gives me a squared equals 144. I am then going to square root both sides of the equation, which gets me a equals 12. So I now know that my third leg, a, is 12. Let's look at a second example. Example 2. In this example, I have the following right triangle. Remember, we can only do this if we have a right triangle. 12, 15, C. And of course, my directions are find the missing side C. So again, I start by writing the Pythagorean theorem, leg 1 squared plus leg 2 squared equals hypotenuse squared. And I'm going to just remember to label, I want to remember the hypotenuse is the one that's the important piece here. It's the one that's special. So I'm going to go to my right angle and I'm going to draw an arrow across so that I can see which side of my triangle is the hypotenuse. And now I'm going to fill in the pieces that I know. So I know one of the legs. You can have either one be the first one. I know a second leg. And I don't know the hypotenuse, so we'll substitute in there that letter that we're given. And so now I simplify. 12 squared is 144, plus 15 squared is 225, equals c squared. 144 plus 225 is 369. And then I'm going to take my square root of both sides. Now, in the previous example, we knew what the square root of 144 was. We know that 12 times 12 gives us 144. In this example, we don't know of a number that times itself gives us 369. There is a number, it's just that it's going to be an approximate number. It's going to have lots of decimal points. So in this case, we simply leave our answer as the square root of 369.